Alright, I'm gonna make one more of these death metal videos today, then take a little break. So, once again, another 10 random death metal CDs in my collection. I was thinking about this band because they have recently reformed and put out a new release. This is the Swedish band Defleshed, and the album is Fast Forward. It came out on Pavement Music in 2000. And there was a time when I was really into fast music, and that's not really what I'm looking for, you know, as a quality in itself anymore. But this fit the bill at the time. Just death metal, but a ton of thrash influence, very fast, a little bit of black metal added in there. And the album that's the most well known is the one prior to this, Under the Blade, but this is a great one too. Staying in Sweden, The Crown, Crowned in Terror. Now, The Crown had an original vocalist, Johan, and he left the band, was kicked out, I forget. And Thomas Lindberg from At the Gates and a million other projects, he joined for this album, and maybe another album, I forget. But different than Defleshed, but the same in that it's thrashing death metal. This one was on Metal Blade. And I'm gonna take a slight detour and mention this one here, The Crown, Crowned Unholy. Basically, once Lindberg left the group, the original vocalist returned, and they re-recorded this album. So, a different recording of the instruments, and a different vocalist. And were the songs changed at all? I don't think they were. I didn't mean to buy them both. I had this one, and then one day I was at a record store, saw this for a really cheap price used, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll get that. And then I got home, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. They're pretty much the same thing. But again, it was cheap. The Crown are mostly remembered for Death Race King, which came out in like 99 or something. And that album was great. Just mid-years, Entombed, but way faster, way heavier. And The Crown are another Swedish band, like Defleshed, that have reformed and have experienced a bit of a resurgence, touring, making new albums. Let's go to Australia. This is Stargazer, A Great Work of Ages. A death metal band, but definitely a dash of death metal thrown in there. The Scream That Tore the Sky was the album before this. I like that one as well. And they have put out a couple albums since then that I'm unfamiliar with, but I've heard some good things. I'm going to check that out. Staying in Australia, Consummation, The Great Solar Hunter. I talked about this on a other video because John Gosser, the American guitar player, plays guitar on here. But I thought I should mention this again. This is one of my favorite death metal albums of the past 10 years, I'd say. Listened to it a million times. And I love the packaging. It's one of my favorite CDs, packaging-wise, in a long time. Let's go to England now. Cruciamentum. This is Charnel Passages. Straight up death metal. Another straight up death metal band from England, Basilius. This is Temple of the Abyss. They have put out a new album a year or so ago, but I haven't checked that one out yet. Warp Chamber. This is a American band. 4 long songs, and just very experimental death metal. Kind of strange, original. I dug it. Okay, we're going to talk about a band that I'm not that much into, but I'm just going to address these CDs. Decapitated. This is the second album, The Negation. I thought it was just a solid death metal album at the time, but I didn't find it very interesting. And I've never really been a huge fan. But several albums later, Carnival is Forever came out, and I heard a lot of good things about it, so I picked it up. But this one to me is just too slick, too glossy, too cold. This band's not right for me. finally, Origin. Who my first instinct is to say they're not death metal, but they are, for sure. Just technical and maybe some grind influences. But this CD, to this day, this is Echoes of Decimation. When I put this on right away, I'm kind of taken aback by the intensity of it. I think it's a great album, and the last couple I've listened to, and it's just not my kind of thing anymore. Those are some somewhat modern albums. Not amongst my favorites for the most part, but pretty cool stuff. And I'll make a couple more of these. I'm just going to take a break. Thanks.